liquid oil. Majority is liquid. Some of the gases are also inside this, and you have some solid sediments, semi-solid sediments also part of the crude. So once it's loaded at a point A and during transportation to point B, the gases evaporates, emits out. The solid particles start settling down. They go to the bottom of the tank and settle down there. And once the vessel goes alongside, discharges the oil, but sediment remains on board. As the discharging is to be carried out, still carries out in the same way through the ship's pump. The pumps can discharge only the liquid, they're not designed to discharge the solid part. So solid sediment used to remain on board. So the receiver on the other side, they used to receive always less cargo than they have paid for, because the sediment also, the solid particles also, the sludge also is a part of the crude, which they never used to receive. So they are always losing money on that. They are always losing, they are receiving less cargo than what they have paid for. Because ships also cannot do anything. This is unpumpable. This solid particle stays at the bottom and we cannot pump it out unless until somebody has to go down and shove it off. So there was a loss of cargo. Receivers were not so happy. On the other side, ship owners, when these sediments are settling down at the bottom of the tank, every after discharging, the sediments are increasing. So these, because of these sediments, the total carrying capacity of the tank, oil carrying capacity of the tank is reducing. So they are also losing freight on this amount, the space that is available, because the space is reducing every time because of these sediments, which are unpumpable. So they are also losing on the freight. Ship owners also losing, and the receivers also, charters also receiving less cargo. Then what ship owner decided, that they will come out to the sea after discharging, wash these tanks with the seawater, and by doing that, at least some amount of sediment will be, and throw this oily water overboard. Oily water along with this little bit of sediment also would have gone. So by doing this, they started polluting the sea in a big way, so that they can achieve those freights which are designed, which is the ship is designed for. At least they can carry that much amount of cargo which the ship is designed for. But in the process, they started polluting the sea. This washing with the water continued for some time till the crude oil washing. They came out, the R&D was still going on. The R&D department came with the solution that crude has a special quality. When the washing is done through the crude oil, if the same crude is used for washing, and when this crude is put under pressure, it becomes very thin. Viscosity increases. It becomes thin. When it becomes thin, it is very easy to drain, to strip the tank. And when this oil under pressure through a nozzle hits the sediments in the cargo tank, the sediments it gets dissolved into this oil and becomes liquid, and this sediment in the form of liquid can be stripped and put it in the slop and finally discharged to the shore facility. This unique property of this oil was used. By doing so, by using this property, receivers started receiving the same amount of oil, maybe sometimes more. Ships started carrying the same amount of cargo that it is designed for, so that they're also getting the same freight. The freight that they were losing, they started recovering that. And the pollution they were creating, the huge amount of pollution which was going on, that immediately stopped. So everybody was happy when this crude oil washing was introduced, by finding the unique property of the crude. If the same crude is put under pressure, the viscosity increases, it becomes more thin, and under pressure, when you hit this sediment, solid sediment, it turns into liquid state, and the sediment along with this thin oil can be stripped and straight discharged to the shore facility. When they used to wash it with the water, the size of the slop tank also used to be big to store all the sediment in the slop tank. Oily water they used to discharge, but sediment used to stay in the slop tank. Was also, so those days used to have a huge slop tank, big capacity slop tanks to store all this sediment, and they introduced the term load on top at that time, to load the cargo on top of this sediment in the slop tank. So by doing this, by introduction of this crude oil washing, shipper is happy, receiver is happy, environmentalists are happy, no more pollution taking place. Ship owner is also happy that he's not doing any pollution. The size of the slop tank, no, not so much of sediment on board now. The size of the slop tank also reduced. And when you have less sludge, less sediment in the cargo, your outturn figure also increases. After this crude oil washing, the outturn figure of the efficiency of the ship also improved a lot. ROB reduced drastically. Since the amount of sludge was less because of the crude oil washing, the gas freeing also did not take time, reduced for gas freeing. The time reduced for desludging the cargo tank when the ship is going for dry dock. So it's saving a lot of money on desludging. Ship owners are saving a lot of money on that. So this crude oil washing brought the revolution in the tanker fleet. Everybody was happy when this crude oil washing was introduced, just because of unique nature of the crude. So when this became successful, MARPOL came out with a requirement that if you are introducing crude oil washing system on board, they put up some regulation in place to be complied by all the tankers, those who are having crude oil washing system installed on board. We will go through that. That's how the crude oil washing system was introduced. Crude is a mixture of hydrocarbon consisting of gases, liquid and solid, depending upon the carbon content, and the solid constituent remains suspended in the liquid, and during transportation from point A to B, these constituents used to settle down on a horizontal and vertical structure, and which were difficult to compound by the ship's power. The construction of the ship. These days, the ships are double hull. Those who have worked on a tanker will agree with me. These cargo tanks are especially, there's no stiffening, very little stiffening. This longitudinal and transfers are there in the cargo tanks. All the stiffening on the ship is towards the ballast tanks. So basically, the cargo tank is like your room where you're sitting. The bottom is plain. So with less obstructions inside the cargo tank, there is no flow of oil is smooth. With the aft trim, the oil is flowing aft, and which has improved the stripping system. Less clinkage now because of no obstruction, very little obstructions inside the tank. It's like the room that you're sitting in. All walls, all head and bottom plain. So that has improved the outward figure. Not only crude oil washing, but they changed the structure of the cargo tanks. All the tankers have become double skin, double bottom, double sides. All the oil compartments are protected by segregated ballast tanks, and all the stiffening, all the strengthening is done in the ballast tanks. So that also improves the efficiency of the vessel. Easy to strip the tanks these days. So with the crude oil washing, due to the sticky nature of the crude oil, the oil clings to the tank valves, and such oil adds to the cargo remaining on board. So they used to wash it with the water, as I said, and create marine pollution. Big slop tanks for storing the sediments, and the load on top was introduced. You have to take a permission from the charterers that so-and-so tank, I have so much of sludge stored in one of the slop tank, but there is still some empty space where I can put the present cargo. So for that, you have to take permission from the charterers. If he allows, then we can load. That is known as load on top. So just sludge के साथ जाते, some sludge used to go, some sludge still remain.
सर वो तो फिर ड्राई डॉक के टाइम पे ही निकालते होंगे बाद में.
Dry dock के टाइम पे निकालते थे. By doing this, by going through this crude oil washing, those who are working on a tanker, or in future if we are going to work on a tanker, you will understand the importance of crude oil washing. It has brought a revolution in the tankers. Earlier, and with the structure of the tanker now, the way the tankers are constructed, it has become more simple to stay on board now for carrying out the operations. I'm not saying that chief officers don't get tired or something. By end of the day, and still they are very tired, but the operation efficiency has improved a lot. Easy to strip the tanks these days. Easy discharging process is very easy. Like bridge has become easy with the actors. Here also, cargo side also, there is improvement everywhere. Ship's life is becoming much and much safer and much efficient. So in order to prevent this problem, a better non-pollutant, crude oil washing is known as non-pollutant way, was introduced, where an oil cargo of the tank itself was used for cleaning the cargo tank. Before they used to clean it with the water, now they're using the same oil to clean the tank. So this process is facilitated by viscosity of the oil considerably reduced. It becomes thin. not high, reduced with the pressure. And it becomes, when it becomes thin, it is easier to strip the tanks. It is good for draining purpose. By performing crude oil washing in the tank, short form of the crude oil washing is cow. In the tank, the amount of ROB is significantly reduced, and with the current high cost of oil, the financial savings are significant both for the charters and for the ship owners. Everybody is happy. Receivers receiving the same amount of oil that they have paid for. Ship owners are carrying the same amount of oil that their capacity that they are assigned for. No pollution. Everybody is making money and happy about that. As a result of the viscosity property, crude oil used for tank washing drains effectively, leaving only a surprisingly very thin oil upon the tank surface. If it is done, crude oil washing done properly, if you have sufficient time in the port and do it properly, and this method is this is the excellent method for the sludge control on ship. Excellent method to keep an eye on the sludge. Keep it bare minimum, because if you don't do crude oil washing, the sludge amount will keep increasing. The constant will increase. Constant of the ship will increase, and when the constant of the ship increase, your cargo carrying capacity of the vessel decreases. So sludge control measures has to be properly implemented, not the paper wash. It has to be washed properly. The superiority of the crude oil to the water as a tank cleaning fluid is exclusively dependent upon the dissolving property of the crude oil. It dissolves, the sludge dissolves in this oil and becomes liquid, becomes easy for stripping. Pump will be used, the ejector will be used to strip this oil into the slop tank, and from the slop tank it will be discharged to the shore facility. Crude oil washing is the washing out the residue solid constituent from the oil tanker using the crude oil cargo itself after the cargo tank has been emptied. This crude oil washing is done once the cargo tank is empty. Only the solid sediments are remaining in the tank. Whatever the pump could pump out is being pumped out by the pump, and they are losing suction. Only sediments remain in the cargo tank. That time this crude oil washing is carried out under pressure plays a very important role. Pressure around 8 to 10 bars. Pressure plays the significant role in keeping a sludge control, and information about the pressure, what pressure to be maintained, you will find it in the crude oil washing manual. That whatever is mentioned in that manual must be maintained for crude oil washing. Then only it is effective cleaning in the tank. Effective sludge control can be done. Crude oil is pumped back into the preheated in the slop tank, then sprayed back with a high pressure nozzle in the cargo tank onto the walls of the tanks. That's how the crude oil washing is carried out. I'll rather explain it with this. This is a better example. Instead of water, you have a oil here. That is only this is the slop tank with the oil. You take suction from here into the pump. Instead of discharging it ashore, you divert this oil into the thinner line as a crude oil washing line, which is going into the cargo tank, and there are the nozzles there. So under pressure, washing is carried out, and at the same time the stripping is done with the ejector, and the same oil along with the sediment which has turned into a liquid state comes back to the same tank. That's how the crude oil washing is performed.
सर तो मतलब कार्गो टैंक से पहले स्लॉप टैंक में जाएगा, उसके बाद
पहले स्लॉप टैंक को फिल कर लेंगे to a certain LH. We put the oil, fresh oil in the slop tank to certain LH, certain sounding and certain LH, and then use this tank for crude oil washing. Take the suction from the same oil, take the suction to the pump, put it in the crude oil washing line, carry out the washing through the nozzle of that particular cargo tank one by one, and whatever oil is falling down and is changing with and the same amount of oil is sucked again using the stripping system, ejector system, and same oil comes back to the same tank. Closed cycle. This is known as closed cycle of crude oil washing. Okay.
So then how does this cycle end? How do we determine that the COW is complete or sediments are dissolved?
Not all sediment will, if I keep a good control on a regular basis, if I carry out the crude oil washing, some sludge will be there. There are some shadow sectors inside the cargo tank which are not covered by these nozzles. So some sludge will be.
Yes, sir. Some sludge will be remaining. I meant, how do we determine that the sludge has most of the sludge or whatever we aimed at has dissolved? How do we estimate that? Or
We
is
come
it given in the manual, in the
now.
cow manual, the
Parameters are mentioned how to carry out the crude oil washing, what pressure to be maintained, what RPM to be maintained, what is the adductor system, should all specification and equipment required for crude oil washing is mentioned in the crude oil washing manual, how to carry it out also.
No, sir. How
But
do we end it? How do we get to know that it is complete? Or after a certain time, we say that it is done,
now,
depending on that.
once there is a cycle, there is a nozzle cycle. You carry out the top wash and there is a bottom wash. There is a 1 hour from the top wash till the top complete cycle takes about an hour. But maximum sludge will be at the bottom, so it is advisable to carry out 2-3 rounds of bottom wash, 40° to 40° or 60° to 60°, 0, 60°. This is 0 and this will be 45 or 60, and this is when it is pointing upwards, it's around 140 to 160°. So carry out the washing as mentioned in the crude oil washing manual, and there are 4-point dipping systems are there in each tank. 4 points are there where we can take the soundings. You cannot inspect, you cannot go inside the tank because the tanks are inerted and hydrocarbons and dangerous. You cannot monitor them, but by taking sounding from all these 4 places of a tank, minimum 4 dipping points are given in each cargo tank. And if you find the sludge is not there in their dipping sticks, that means the crude oil washing has been done properly.
Sir, we have deep road as well, so we can check.
Say again.
Sir, we also have deep roads on board, so we can check with that.
You have what?
Sir, deep roads. Deep road.
Correct. Sounding rods or dipping rods are the same thing. Use that from the different locations. Check the forward side of the tank and the after side of the tank, and that will give you the satisfaction whether the crude oil washing is being carried out successfully or not.
सर ये जो स्लॉप टैंक होता है वो एक कॉमन टैंक होता है?
It's a cargo tank, small cargo tank, slightly smaller in size.
सर अगर ढेर सारे कार्गो टैंक होंगे तो सबके जो स्ट्रिपिंग सेक्शन होगा सबका ये कॉमन टैंक में जाएगा?
Crude oil tankers usually carry 1 grade or 2 grades maximum.
अच्छा सर.
That segregation kind of a thing, not like chemical carrier or not like product carriers where you are carrying many grades.
एंड सर एक चीज और, स्ट्रिपिंग सेक्शन है सर, ये नीचे नीचे ही होता है, तो नीचे तो डिपॉजिटेड होते होंगे, तो ये वो सेक्शन सक कर लेता है ये?
That's why you doing crude oil washing, no? That sediment will change over into liquid form and then immediately it's sucked. As you are doing the crude oil washing, same time the adductor is also running. So yours, whatever is falling, you straightway immediately you are keeping the bottom dry all the time, so that immediately as soon as the oil falls, it is sucked and put it in the slop tank.
एंड सर ये सब शुरू करते हैं हम कार्गो, मेन कार्गो डिस्चार्ज करने के बाद ही शुरू करेंगे?
करेक्ट, व्हेन द कार्गो टैंक पूरा खाली हो जाता है. ठीक है
सर
ना?
जैसे हमने हीटिंग कार्गो लोड किया था, तो हीटिंग कोइल्स जो होती हैं हर एक टैंक के लिए अलग अलग हीटिंग सिस्टम दिया है. तो हीटिंग कोइल्स जो होती हैं वो एक सर्टेन डिस्टेंस कील from the tech.
Chief officer has done a mistake, when you're carrying a heated cargo. Ab heated cargo's heating coils and the oil level is below the heating coil, तो एकदम से सॉलिड हो जाएगा ना?
जी सर, वो सॉलिड ही हो गया था फिर.
तो गलती है एक्चुअली चीफ ऑफिसर की. उसमें क्या होता है, दैट इज द
तो
बेस्ट.
काफी लॉस हो गया फिर चार्टर वगैरह को कार्गो का.
करेक्ट, बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है. दैट सॉलिड अगर कैलकुलेट करोगे, it's more than maybe 500 tons or something. Oil tanks, agar all tanks mein it becomes more around 500 tons, big money. What is the right procedure is, don't take ballast in the ballast tank first. You can take ballast, but ballast should not be touching the bottom of the cargo tank. As soon as the level of oil comes below the heating coils, immediately you must use the inductor and strip it out. Abhi garam hai.
यस सर.
कार्गो अभी गर्म है.
हाँ सर, वो एकदम से फिर वैसा हो जाएगा.
हाँ,
जब वॉयज रिसर्कुलेशन करो अगर वॉयज में उसको नहीं.
हीटिंग कॉइल्स तो वेल समझते हैं ऑयल में. तो
Sir, I have sailed on a VLCC, but you just talked about like 3-4 sampling points where we can take samples from different locations, but I did not find by this there's only UTI 1 MMC
not
stand.
sample. I didn't say sample. I said dipping points. There is a difference between sampling point and a dipping point.
Yes, sir, that dipping point itself, because I just not found out only one that we used to take from where you used to put the UTI and then you used to take the ullage
Correct.
every time.
Correct. These dipping points is not for sampling. These dipping points are meant to take the soundings, just the sounding, not sampling. How much oil or how much sludge is there at the bottom.
The hole is also very narrow, only a bob can go.
Vapor locks. The size of see where you put the MMC, no? MMC, you have modified that to match with the MMC. Official MMC का size बड़ा होता है. Whereas these vapor locks are very small in size. Next time when you go on board, stand on top of one of the tank and look for all these things.
So is there any requirement for like having this sampling points, this dipping points? Like we were having one sampling point, like we were using UTI also there only. But apart from that, we were having two dipping points, one in the forward and one in the aft.
Correct. There is a requirement, minimum 4 dipping points should be there. Again, depends on the size of the vessel, but usually big vessels, they have minimum 4 dipping points, 2 in the forward section and 2 in the after section. Out of these 4 dipping points, only 1 point is used for cargo calculation.
This is required for crude carriers only or for product also, because on product there were only 2.
So size छोटा होगा, may not be product.
Around 200 meters, sir.
तो वो उसके लिए नहीं होगा. But for crude carrier, big carriers, there 4 dipping points are needed. Okay?
So like you were talking about this, but he never stops. He just let it run only. He said let it be like that only. Like then he will start like set of tanks, and then after a while he will again do the stripping of that empty tank. So, but in that case, there was like cargo was not remaining in the tanks.
No, it's absolutely. So like, the level used to go down.
Like stop this heating immediately or let it run for some time? Will it damage the heating coils? Or?
As soon as the level goes down below the heating coil, we must stop cargo heating of that particular tank. Must. Otherwise, you will spoil the heating coils.
But sir, in that case, it was a waxy cargo, na sir. We like heat.
Doesn't matter. अरे उसका कुछ फायदा तो है नहीं. Even if you put the steam, but the level is below that, no? The steam is not reaching there.
But sir, when like he used to give his example, like due to radiation, some heat is being transmitted because the distance from tank top to this heating coil is 10 cm. So he's saying it's not that much. So it will like
he's actually basically damaging the heating coils, damaging in a big way. It may not happen. He is lucky that it didn't happen during his time, but maybe after 2-3 chief officer, heating coils will start leaking.
Yes, sir, that's why I'm asking. But sir, like after that, we were carrying same cargo and another chief officer came. He was like, when it was 10 cm was coming the allege, then he, the sounding, he will say, okay, shut down this strip of the steam coils. But that's sir, every time we were remaining with this like around 2-3 cm of cargo.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I wonder why the chief master allowed that chief officer to continue heating once the level is also gone. The master was not keeping an eye on him.
The master is always in his cabin only.
So that is a problem.
No sir, but later on, like that master and chief officer themselves, they went inside the tank to remove, because next passage we have to go and like they were, I believe we were carrying fuel or something. So they were like, their requirement was so strict that they don't want any like residue. We were, but 2 tanks we were getting around 4 cm the sludge. So they went inside unofficially and then they removed that part of cargo from there. They put some sand and all so that during dipping nothing is coming.
My goodness. क्या Indian थे कि Greco थे? Indian behaving like a Greco. चलो कोई बात नहीं. Tarzan तभी तो है ना. There are so many Tarzan out at sea. Absolutely wrong, man. It is societal. It is criminal. तुम लोगों ने in the company.
Management तो बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन वो तो सब उसके against जा रहे हैं. सब लोग मना कर रहे हैं.
And they will kill themselves or they will kill somebody else.
अच्छे आदमी थे सर. हम लोग को नहीं भेजा, खुद ही गए थे सर.
It's these Tarzan, this Superman effects are not required out at sea. नहीं जा रहा, not your problem. And going inside the tank is something. It's a news for me. I spent 40 years out at sea in tankers only. But I never मेरे तो दिमाग में भी नहीं आया कि कभी मैं अंदर जाके क्या whatever they were doing. Not at all. Nor I will send anybody. वो तो दिमाग में ही नहीं आया इस टाइप के. These new ideas, fantastic ideas. I would say that. Don't try when you become chief officer. Don't try all this. Okay.
Yes. For VLCC or other tankers also.
Any tanker that matter. Don't go inside the tank when it has a inert gas. It has fuel gas, whatever, fuel oil, never mind. Fuel oil also had some gases. They are lucky that nothing happened to them. Otherwise, newspaper में आते वो लोग, they would have closed down the company.
Yes, sir. We enter only after gas ring. Sir, we enter only after gas ring.
This is only, you can imagine a Superman can do all this, and not to in these scenarios, not in today's scenario. People used to do maybe 50-60 years back, when these regulations were, so many regulations were not in place. Nowadays, nobody even think about this. Going inside the tank, it's criminal. Luckily, nobody clicked the photograph. They are lucky in many sense. Nothing happened to them. Both of them went, master and chief officer.
Yes, both of them.
And dekho, another blunder. Both of them are not supposed to go inside the cargo tank. Only one at a time.
Responsible officer outside standby.
Never mind.
So, as per NSM in our health and safety manual is clearly mentioned, like none of the crew member can go inside the tank. None of them.
Correct, including master and chief officer. Nobody.
Only shore personnel are allowed that too. Like they have their own guidelines.
Even they will also not go. Yes, but not while discharging. Somebody going inside and that's a news. I will tell. I will quote this incident in other classes. Make the people aware. This is also happening. Recently, is it 1 or 2 years back?
3 months ago, sir.
3 months back. Okay, good to tell me. I mean, I'll not mention anybody's name or something, but people should know there are Supermen still around. Don't even think about it. It's criminal. And both chief officer and master going inside the cargo tank, it's suicidal. You are putting the risk. You are putting the whole ship at risk. अगर दोनों को कुछ हो जाए, you understanding what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. On-board promotion हो जाएगा sir, second officer का.
कुछ नहीं होता. On-board promotion से all problem है. When you don't have experience, it's more scary. It sounds okay, money looks okay, but you know, when you are in that responsible job, it's difficult. You need somebody who can guide you as a master or something. समझ रहे हो ना? Whole cargo is at risk. Whole crew is at risk now. There is no master and chief officer on board. And they are lucky that nobody clicked photograph. I'm giving you all ideas. If you see these kind of activities going on ships, strongly recommend take photographs, because this unsafe practices should be stopped. Enough life has gone. Enough people have sacrificed their life by doing this under commercial pressure. Okay, shall I go forward further or a story I was in there?
Sir,
Yes.
can you please shortly again explain the close cycle, please, sir?
Say again.
Sir, एक बार वो close cycle please explain कर देंगे. I have missed a few points in between.
I'll be explaining it again and again. Don't worry. I'll make sure you all know about this. Whatever I'm teaching you, I will make sure. 1,000 times I will repeat. Okay.
Thank you.
This is a slop tank. You have it is water written here. I purposely put this diagram because this diagram explains very nicely for understanding. If just imagine this is oil here. You take suction. You take oil from this tank. Put it in the pump. Instead of pumping it ashore, you put it in the crude oil washing line, carry out the washing through the nozzle under pressure, about 8 to 10 bars pressure, and at the same time ducting is going on, and this whatever oil and sediment getting turned into a liquid state is pumped back to the slop. So this is called taking suction from one tank and coming back to the same tank. It's called closed cycle. In this, we have taken a slop tank as one tank, and the oil is coming back after the crude oil washing and stripping, coming back to the slop tank itself. So that is a closed cycle. All right. So regulation for the cow. Now MARPOL has put in the requirement. Since such a fantastic system has come into the tankers, everybody is happy. MARPOL put their requirement, their regulations in place that any ship who's having the crude oil system installed must comply with all these requirements. Then only they can get an approval certificate for that crude oil washing system. Regulation 33, Annex 1, 20,000 deadweight and above, MARPOL says must have the crude oil system installed for every cargo tank. There should be a skilled people on board who are properly trained to perform the complete operation. Skilled people are required. Trained people are required as per the MARPOL. Nowadays, we have a matrix. Sometimes even the VIQ also mentions there You must have filled up VIQs. There's a questionnaire there. What is the experience of the master in crude oil washing or STS operation out in the crude oil carrier or this kind of vessel? What is the experience of the chief officer? They want experienced and trained, skilled people to carry out this kind of critical work. Critical in the sense, this is high pressure job. Crude oil washing is done under high pressure, 8 to 10 bars. Any small leak and it is oil inside, any small leak in the system overboard, and you can have a create a pollution. So to avoid that, responsible people has to be there, skilled people has to be there. A senior officer has to be there in the cargo control room when the crude oil washing is going on. Go ahead, somebody is talking. This system, crude oil washing system, administration shall ensure that the system is fully complies with the requirement. Now the flag state also has come into being. MARPOL requires administration to make sure that it complies with all the requirement required by for the specifications, for the design, for the control, for the equipment required for crude oil washing. It complies with the flag state has to ensure that it complies, the vessel complies with all the requirements, and within 1 year of its service, from the time it has come out of the yard, within 1 year of its service in trade, it must get the approval certificate from the administration within 1 year of its service, or third voyage, end of the third voyage, whichever comes later. So there should be an approval certificate for crude oil washing system, which is given by the classification society surveyor, comes on board on the behalf of the flag state to carry out the inspection for crude oil washing system. During the crude oil washing, he is present, he is watching, and he checks the quality of cleanliness, quantity of sludge remaining after the crude oil washing in each tank. And once he is satisfied, then only he gives the certificate for approval for the crude oil washing system, and at the same time he approves the crude oil washing manual. Crude oil washing installation.
Explain that other point, this 3 months, something like that. This third voyage carrying crude oil.
Jahaj, when it comes out from the yard, new ship.
Yes, sir.
So once it comes out from the yard and is into the trade, it's loading and discharging, start loading and discharging cargo within 1 year of this time, from the time it has come out from the yard, and within 1 year after, or the end of the third voyage, it performs 3 voyages and end of third voyage. Which one is later? Either 1 year will come later, or the third voyage maybe come after 1 year. Whichever one is later, the ship should call the classification surveyor for approval of the crude oil washing system. So approval has to be taken by the ship owner within 1 year of its service or end of third voyage, whichever comes later.
Okay, sir.
3 voyage might finish in 1 week also, no? If you're doing some light trade, right? Correct? Or the 3 voyage might finish after 1 year. So whichever coming later, within that time, we must carry out get the approval from the administration.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Crude oil washing installation and associated equipment and arrangement shall comply with the requirement of stabilized administration. Such requirement should contain at least all the provision of the specification for design, operation, control of the crude oil washing system adapted by. So whatever is the requirement, flag state requirement for the crude oil washing system, that includes the design, operation, control, the equipment, associated equipment, everything has to be as per the flag state requirement. And if the ship complies with all their requirements, then only the approval certificate is given. If you have the crude oil washing system installed on your ship, there should be a IG system also must be installed. IG system shall be provided in every tanker having crude oil washing system. Only those cargo tanks can be ballasted that have been crude oil washed. You cannot take ballast in the cargo tank these days. Not allowed. There are segregated ballast tanks. Earlier they used to take ballast in the cargo tanks because the capacity of the segregated ballast tanks were not sufficient enough to comply with the MARPOL requirement of minimum draft and minimum trim and propeller immersion. So that's why to comply with this MARPOL requirement, they used to take ballast in cargo tanks. It was mandatory. Otherwise, the vessel cannot sail. But nowadays, with the new tankers from 1982, SBT's capacity of the segregated ballast tanks, short form is SBT. Segregated ballast tanks are the tanks which are dedicated only for ballast. They are just carrying ballast, only seawater. So the capacity of these segregated ballast tanks on board is complying with all the MARPOL requirement, is sufficient enough to comply with the amount of with this MARPOL requirement, and that is why it is not permitted to take ballast in the cargo tanks. It is allowed to take ballast in the cargo tank only in a severe heavy weather condition where the risk of the life of the crew life or the risk of the cargo at stake or a ship is at stake. Under those conditions, ballast can be taken in the heavy weather. They are known as heavy weather ballast tank. They are basically cargo tanks which can be used for taking ballast in a heavy weather, severe weather conditions. They are usually at the midship section. Midship section, why midship section? Because when you take ballast in the middle of the ship, there will be a bodily sinkage of the ship. The forward draft, the aft draft, and the midship draft, all three drafts will increase. Whereas when you take ballast in the after section, after draft will increase, but maybe the forward draft may decrease. When you take ballast in the midship area, there is a bodily sinkage of the vessel. So for that reason, these are assigned for all tankers, heavy weather ballast tanks. So as per the MARPOL, heavy weather ballast tank must be crude oil washed every discharging, so that during ballast voyage, in case you have a heavy weather, you can take ballast. Okay, we stopped it here, guys. Any question? We'll be repeating it next time. Any question?
Sir, is it necessary to have heavy weather ballast tank?
Say what? Come close to the mic. Can't hear you.
So is it necessary to have this heavy weather ballast tank? Because I remember something like one captain was telling like our ballast tank capacity is a few tons less, else we would not be having this heavy weather ballast tanks.
No, the heavy weather ballast tank का purpose ही कुछ और है. It's nothing to do with the SBT capacity. As I said, no, मैंने तभी तो बोला कि भाई SBTs we are not allowed to take ballast in the heavy weather. We are not allowed to take ballast in the cargo tanks first, because we are complying with all the requirement, because our SBT quantity is good enough, sufficient enough to comply with the MARPOL requirement. Okay, you will find it there. Find it yourself, because people say many things. Now we are coming across the heating भी ऐसे करता है, सब करता है, because there's a lack of knowledge. I'm surprised the master didn't interfere when somebody is spoiling the heating coils on board. Heating coils are the heart of the, you earn so much money because of the heating coils on board. It has to be protected properly. Next time I will discuss in detail.